Good morning, everybody. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Wednesday, June 10th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Sin. Our starting point this morning, the latest employment figures in South Korea, and another devastating numbers as the country's jobless rate jumped to a 10-year high in the month of May as businesses continued to reel from the coronavirus pandemic. The number of working people fell for a third month in a row last month as local companies were reluctant to hire and more people were laid off amid the COVID-19 pandemic. For more on this, we have our Ji-young on the line with us. So Ji-young, let's break down the numbers.
Yes, Semin. According to data released by Statistics Korea on Wednesday, the number of employed people was around 26.9 million, down 392,000 from the same month a year earlier. The number of people in work has been on the downtrend for 3 straight months. This is the first time the figure has been lower for 3 months in a row since October 2009 and January 2010 in the aftermath of the global financial crisis. The employment rate in May recorded 4.5%, the highest for the month of May since records began in 1999. The employment rate for people aged 15 to 64 decreased 1.3 percentage points on year to 65.8% in May. The losses were concentrated in business sectors that require face-to-face interaction, like hospitality. Breaking it down by sector, the wholesale and retail sectors saw 189,000 job losses compared to last year, down 5.1%. The restaurant and lodging sectors saw 183,000 job losses, down 7.9% on year. Finance Minister Hong Nam-ki said at a meeting with government officials on Wednesday that the third COVID-19 related supplementary budget should be approved within June in order to cope with the grim situation as soon as possible. That's all I have for now, but I'll bring more updates in a later newscast. Back to you, Semin.
Ji-young on the nation's job front. Thank you. People in South Korea that visit nightclubs, bars, and indoor exercise facilities will now have to be scanned using a QR code before entering as a precaution against the COVID-19. Health authorities say that from Wednesday, which is today, 8 registered high-risk entertainment venues are now obliged to use a QR code-based visitor register system after a week-long trial that was deemed successful. Now, visitors need to present their one-time QR code containing their personal information and submit it to the venue upon entering. Health authorities will then be able to access the information when the contact tracing is necessary. The information will be destroyed after 4 weeks, and the measure was first introduced to prevent another cluster infections like the one we saw in Itaewon when many visitors submitted false personal information. Wasting little time to respond after North Korea decided to sever all inter-Korean communication lines, China and the United States made statements calling on the regime to return to dialogue, diplomacy, and cooperation. Our Kim Yeon-koung with more.
Beijing and Washington are calling for dialogue and cooperation in solving the souring ties between the two Koreas following North Korea's severing of all communication lines with the South. China's foreign ministry said Tuesday that it supports warm ties between the two Koreas.
As a close neighbor, China hopes and consistently supports the DPRK and the ROK in improving their ties and promote reconciliation and cooperation through dialogue and consultation.
What's important to note is that such a remark comes amid an increasingly close relationship between Pyongyang and Beijing. North Korea's Foreign Minister Lee Sun-kwon met with Chinese ambassador to the North last week to express the regime's support for China amid the growing geopolitical conflict between Beijing and Washington, especially on the issue of Hong Kong. China's delivery of quarantine supplies to North Korea in April and exchange of letters between the leaders of two countries last month also shows the ever closer ties between the two allies. Following the North's decision to cut off all inter-Korean hotlines, Washington said Tuesday that it's disappointed in the regime's latest actions. The U.S. State Department also urged the regime to return to diplomacy and cooperation, adding that the U.S. is cooperating closely with South Korea regarding the matter. Such statement could be seen as a public call on the North to halt its hostilities and de-escalate inter-Korean tensions. Kim Yeon-koung, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., the final funeral service for African-American George Floyd, whose death at the hands of a white police officer ignited anti-racism protests around the world, was held in the state of Texas on Tuesday local time. At the Fountain of Praise Church in Houston, Texas, George Floyd's hometown, hundreds of mourners consoled each other as they eulogized Mr. Floyd. It has been 15 days since Floyd was killed in Minneapolis. And several dignitaries and celebrities were in attendance as well, including former Vice President and also the 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, having shared his condolences via a video message. The mayor of the city also declared June 9th as George Floyd Day in Houston. In other news, the world's highest paid volleyball player, Kim Yeon-koung, will be holding a press conference this afternoon, marking her return to the Korean V-League after 11 years plying her trade overseas. Widely regarded as one of the greatest players ever, Kim recently revealed that she's rejoining her former club, Hunguk Life Pink Spiders, on a year-long deal with almost $300,000. Now, the terms of her contract grabbed headlines here, as Kim's salary alone is more than the rest of the entire squad combined. A club official said they initially proposed double the salary to Kim, but she refused, asking instead that her younger teammates be given a pay rise. Kim's press conference will be held at 2 p.m. Korea time. On this very day, 33 years ago, South Korea's pro-democracy movement led to the eventual toppling of Chun Doo-hwan's then authoritarian regime. Remembered as the June Democracy Movement, it ended up leading to the revision of the constitution, allowing citizens to elect their own leader, to the establishment of the now Sixth Republic, South Korea's current-day government. In moments' time, we will be cutting over for a live scenes for the 33rd commemorative event, and it's taking place at the former anti-communist interrogation office in Namyeong-dong in capital of Seoul. And this is also the first time that a sitting president will be attending the memorial at this very location. And that location has a very dark history, as many police under the authoritarian regime use it to detain pro-democracy activists who it accused of being communist for what they said were interrogations, but survivors say they were more like a physical torture. In moments' time, we will be cutting over to that live scene where we will be given a full disclosure of the commemorative event marking the 33-year marking the June Democratic Movement. As we have said, this isn't normally something that we've been seeing a lot of in the past, with the president attending that very ceremony happening at that very location. And what we're seeing on that screen is the South Korea's national anthem being held with some of the Korean images that depicts Korea. And shortly after the Korea's national anthem, we will be seeing the former, the mother of one of the pro-democratic movement who had been sacrificed during the June 10th pro-democracy movement that ended up in leading to a revision of the constitution for people here in South Korea, allowing them to vote for their own leaders. And that also put the authoritarian regime under Chun Doo-hwan to a halt and allowed a lot of the people to vote for their own leaders, leading to the beginning of the democratization.
We will pay a silent tribute for the fallen heroes, and we also have a very special message and pledge to be read by our novelist Han Seung-won, which will be read by the chairperson Ji-sun of the Commemorative Association for Democracy Movement. Silent tribute. Fruits remain after flowers fade, but the moon and stars leave no traces behind. We stand here today to remember the moon and stars who disappeared holding flowers. This is the Namyeong-dong police building, where the interrogators interrogated innocent citizens under the military dictatorship. I extend my deepest condolences to many who have lost their lives here, unfortunately, including the late Kim Yeon-koung and the late Park Jong-chul, as well as to the many activists, including the late Lee Han-yeol, who died during the 1987 June Democracy Movement. Upholding your wish on the site of such tragedy, we will make a garden with flowers and apple trees of liberal democracy. We will enable our future generations to sit on the flower garden and enjoy the fruits of love. Please be seated. During the June Democracy Movement, people gave roses and carnations to flower officers, making the spirit of democracy that was resisting against violence look even more noble. The June Democracy Movement is indeed our own story. It is the story of us being risen by those who fell here at room 509 of the Namyeongdong Police Station in Seoul. And we have actor Park Won-sang, who played the role of the late Kim Yeon-koung in the film Namyeongdong 1985. In January of 1987, violence and torture with water killed Park Jong-chul, who was a youth longing for democracy. Many people took to the streets with his photo in their hands, crying out for the truth. However, in April 1987, the Chun-doo-han administration defied public's call, announcing a defense of the Constitution to shut off the eyes and ears of the public. In May of 1987, priest Kim Seung-hoon of the Catholic Priest Association for Justice reveals the truth. He said the case of Park Jong-chul's torture has been manipulated and the administration deceived the public. Mounting furiousness became the strong desire for democracy, which led to the establishment of the National People's Movement headquarters for the Democratic Constitution, igniting a nationwide resistance. In June of 1987, student Lee Han-yeol dropped on his feet after being shot by a police tear gas while crying out for democracy. The sorrow and pain of losing two young men led to strong desire, igniting the June Democracy Movement on June 10, 1987. The cries for democracy shouted by some 240,000 people across 18 cities nationwide led to the direct presidential election. And 2020, June 10th, there are still many things we need to do for democracy. The democratic spirit of the June Democracy Movement shall be deeply rooted in our daily lives, enabling us to expand the practice of democracy. We need to sternly respond to the attempts to insult the history of democracy so that the future generation can learn the right values and history. The country is facing numerous challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we need to embrace each other so that this does not lead to social discrimination. We hope that no one will be left behind. And just like the June Democratic Movement was not achieved by the energy of just a handful of people, and just like the Candlelight Revolution did not claim victory by the cries of just a handful of people, changing a new world and society calls for the participation of all. Now let us march towards a new society of hope, succeeding on the democratic spirit of June. Let us now bear flowers of our people and flowers of democracy. I sincerely hope to make such Republic of Korea together. Thank you very much.
네, 배우 박원상님 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much for your message. That was actor Park Won-sang. And thanks to the June Democratic Movement, the democracy of the Republic of Korea has been established, and let us remember their sacrifice and let us succeed on with their spirit. Next, we have the mother of activist, the late Lee Han-yeol, Ms. Bae Eun-sim, for the recital of her 33rd letter sent on June 10th. Please give her a big hand.
이소선 어머니,
Miss Lee So-sun, father of Jong-chul,
제 얘기
can you hear me?
들리세요? 나 한여리
I'm
애미예요.
Han-yeol's mother.
글쎄, 나라에서
The country
우리한테
says it will
훈장을
award
준다
government
하네요.
medals to us.
그래서 내가 이
That is
자리에
why
와
I
서
am
있어요.
here.
30년
We've
가까이
been together for the
늘
past
함께
3 decades as
다니며
members
싸우던
of the
우리
association.
유아연 식구들인데 어머니는 전태일이 옆에
As Miss
가주시고
Lee So-sun, you are now with Chun Tae-il, and as Jong-chul's father is also with his son, I am all by myself today receiving the government medal.
제가 어머니 아버지 그리고
I don't know
우리
if
정부
I should
민족민주
do this by
유가족협의회
myself
식구들을
without
처음
the
본 게
accompany
87년
and
8월 12일
without being
우리
accompanied
하늘이
by
보내고
you.
난
And
직후였습니다.
we first met at the Association for the Bereaved Family of Democracy movement on August 12th of 1987 after saying my final farewell to my son Han-yeol. When I was at the first anniversary commemoration of the association, both of you asked me to join, and that's how I became a member. Even back then, there were many places our members had to go to fight against, including sit-in sites and strike sites. We stayed together at all times at the shelter in Changsin-dong and were always together. People would normally ask us about the whereabouts if just one of us were missing. I guess we were closer than blood. All of the recipients of the medal today, aside from our association members, deserve to receive them as they have dedicated their lives and sacrificed themselves in the challenging world. And now I'm wondering if I can stand side by side with them on this stage. I bet Jong-chul's father would also ask me what I'm doing here. However, I am here today with the very hope that we can become a country where no one sacrifices their lives for democracy, inflicting pain in their family members. Hope you can understand. And please understand and please look at me with warm hearts. Thank you very much.
네, 어머님 고맙습니다.
Thank you very
오래오래
much. I wish for your
건강하시기를
health.
바라겠습니다. 다음으로 민주주의 발전에 함께한 국민에
Now
대한
the
감사의 마음을
president
담아
will award government
대통령께서
decoration
민주주의
for
발전
individuals who
유공
have
정부
contributed to the
포상을
development
하시겠습니다.
of democracy here in the Republic of
대통령께서
Korea.
이동하시겠습니다.
He will move up to the podium.
오늘 민주주의 유공 정부 포상 수여는
And
가슴 아픈 역사에
today
대한
we
반성과
have
용서의 의미를 담아
we have the
경찰
individuals
의전으로
who
진행됩니다.
have contributed to the establishment of democracy,
정부
and they will
포상을
be
받으시는
awarded,
유공자는
and
모두
they will be
19
guided
명,
by
즉
the
12
police
분에게
honor guards.
국민훈장을
And we have a total of
대통령께서 직접
19
수여하시겠습니다.
recipients. The president will award the Order
먼저
of Civil Merit
고
Medal to
이소선님입니다.
12 of them. First, the late Lee So-sun.
훈장증 전
Order
전국민족
Certificate,
민주유가족
former
협의회
Association for the
회장
Bereaved
고
Family of Democracy
위는 민주화
Movement,
운동을 통하여 국가 사회
President
발전에
the late
이바지한
Lee
공로가
So-sun.
크므로
The above
대한민국
person has
헌법에 따라
contributed greatly to the
다음
development of the
훈장을
nation and country
국민훈장
through democratic
모란장,
movement, and thus the
2010년
following
6월
order
10일
is being awarded in accordance to the Constitution
딸
of the Republic of
정은수롱님께
Korea.
수여됩니다.
Order of Civil Merit Moran Medal, President. It is awarded to daughter Chun Sun-ok.
네, 국민께 인사드리겠습니다. 그동안의
Please
헌신과
greet
신의 존경과
the
감사의
public.
마음을 담아서 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Please give her a big hand of applause as well.
전 민주화운동 기념사업회 이사장
Next, the late Park Hyung-gyu, former Commemorative Association of Democratic Movement Chairman, The details are the same as above. June 10th, 2020, a President of the Republic of Korea. It is awarded to great-grandson Yoo Seung-min.
네, 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Please give him a big hand as well. Next, the late Cho Young-lee, former Civil Joint Legal Office attorney, the late Cho Young-lee. The details are the same as above. A June 10th, 2020 President. It is awarded to wife Lee Ok-kyung. Next, the late Chi Hak-sun, former Catholic parish of Wonju, head the late Chi Hak-sun. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to priest Kwak Ko-in of the Wonju parish. Next, the former Monsignor of the Catholic Archdiocese of Gwangju, the late Cho Chul-hyun. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to his brother Cho Myung-hyun. Next, former chairperson of the former Association for the Bereaved Family of Democracy Movement, the late Park Jong-gi. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to son Park Jong-bu. Chairman of the former Civil Association for Democratic Press, the late Sung Yu-bo. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to son Sung Deok-mu. Former Emeritus Professor of the Seoul National University, the late Kim Jin-yoon. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to wife Jung Hae-young. Former Dean of the Sangji University, the late Kim Chan-wook. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to son Kim Eun-gyu.
전 민주주의 민족
Former permanent president of the National Association for Democratic People's Unification, the late Kwon Jong-dae. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to his son, Kwon Sun-man. Attorney for the former group of Attorneys for Democratic Society, the late Hwang In-cheol. The details are the same as above. It is awarded to wife Choi Young-hee. Incorporated Association for the Bereaved Family of a Democracy Movement, Honorary President Bae Eun-sim. The details are the same as above. It is being awarded to herself.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
다음은 대통령께서
Now the President will deliver
기념사를
his
하시겠습니다.
commemorative remarks.
존경하는 국민
Fellow
여러분,
Korean citizens,
60 민주항쟁의 그날
on the very day of the June Democracy Movement, we
함께
together made
만들어냈습니다.
democracy possible.
학생들은
Students were
앞장섰고
at the lead,
회사원들은
businessmen waved their
손수건을
own
흔들고
handkerchiefs,
택시기사들은
taxi drivers
경적을
honked their
울렸습니다.
cars,
어머니들은
and mothers
전투경찰의
attached
가슴에
flowers on the chests of
꽃을
combat police
달아주었습니다.
officers.
온 국민이 함께
The people together
민주주의라는
planted a
이름의
tree named
나무를
Democracy
광장에 심었습니다.
at the plaza.
그로부터
33 years have passed
33
since then.
노동자들이
The laborers
평등과
shone
단결이라는
the
햇빛을,
sunlight of equality and unity,
공감과
while the citizens
참여라는
shone the
햇빛을
sunlight of
나무에
participation and
비춰
sympathy
주었습니다.
onto the tree.
청년들이
The
어머니
young
아버지가
generation
되면서
became mothers
우리의
and
가정에
fathers themselves,
민주주의가
and democracy started to
시작되었습니다.
bloom in their
인권을 돌아보게
households.
되었고
We started to look
한
back on
사람을
human rights and began to
소중하게
cherish
여기게
every
되었습니다.
individual.
민주주의가 위태로울 때
At times when
우리는
democracy was at
촛불을
risk,
들었고
we held up candles.
모두와 함께 천천히
Although it was done
그러나
gradually in baby
결코
steps, we never
방향을
lost
잃지
our
않고
direction
오늘에
and have
이르렀습니다.
come all the way to today.
오늘 민주주의라는 이름의 나무는
The tree of
어느
democracy
나라보다
is growing
더
at a
빠르게
fast rate
자라고
today
있습니다.
compared to any other country
우리의
in the world.
민주주의는
To us,
나눔과
democracy is one of
참생의
sharing and
민주주의입니다.
mutual harmony.
개인의 자유를 존중하는
As
만큼
much as we
국민
respect the
모두의
freedom
자유를
of individuals,
존중하는
democracy is
민주주의입니다.
about respecting the liberty of
우리는
all members
코로나를
of the
극복하는
public.
과정에서
In our battle
연대와
against
협력의
COVID-19,
민주주의를
the democracy that we
보여주었습니다.
have made it
우리가
enable the
만든
Republic of
민주주의가
Korea to become a
대한민국을
global model
코로나 방역
for others to
모범국으로
emulate.
만들었습니다. 온 국민이 함께 만든
This democracy is
민주주의입니다.
made by all of our citizens.
민주항쟁
Marking the
33돌을 맞아
33rd anniversary
민주주의를
of the June
위해
democracy
사망해간
movement,
열사들을 기립니다.
I pay tribute to those who have
33년 전
sacrificed their lives for
60
democracy.
민주항쟁에 함께
33
했던
years ago,
시민들과
people have participated in the June
이후에도
democratic movement,
민주주의 발전을 위해
and many
헌신한
people also
모든
dedicated
분들께
themselves
깊은
to the development of
존경과
democracy here in the
감사의
country
마음을
onwards.
바칩니다.
I extend my deepest gratitude and respect to all of them.
더 크게,
Our
더
democracy is
튼튼하게
growing
자라고
even
있습니다.
further and becoming more robust.
이제는 남부럽지
Now it has
않게
been matured to
성숙했습니다.
a great level.
서로를 위한 마음으로
And I
오늘
want to applaud our
우리의
public
민주주의를
for
이만큼
enabling our
성장시킨
democracy
우리
to
국민
grow and
모두에게
develop
격려의
to this
박수를
level.
보내고 싶습니다. 국민 여러분,
Fellow Koreans,
이곳은
today we are
남영동입니다.
at Namyeongdong.
남영역 기차
This
소리가
place
들리는
is where we
이곳은
can hear the
한때
trains going in and out of
남영동
Namyeong Station
대공분실로
and was
불리던
once notorious
항명로
for
봤던
the Namyeongdong
곳입니다.
police building.
담벼락 하나를 사이에
With a
두고
single
시민들이
wall,
오가던
this
이곳에서
crowded place with high foot
불법
traffic
유행,
was the
고문
very
조작,
site where
인권
people
침해가
were taken to the police
벌어졌습니다.
illegally, tortured, and where
단지
their human
민주화를
rights were
염원했다는
infringed
이유
upon.
하나로
Just
많은
because they
이들이
longed for
이곳에서
democracy, many
인간으로서
of them
감당하기
had
힘든
to go
고통과
through unendurable
공포와
pain and
치욕을
fear.
겪어야 했습니다. 김건태
The head of the Youth
민청년 의장은
Association
정기
for
고문을
Democracy Movement, Kim
죽음을
Yeon-koung,
넘나드는
was
고문을
tortured
당했습니다.
numerous times involving electric shocks.
1987년
On
1월 14일
January 14th of 1987, here at the interrogation room, number 509, activist Park Jong-chul, who was a 22-year-old student of linguistics at the Seoul National University, died of waterboarding. However, the place of dictatorship and violence has now been turned into one of democratic struggle by the many activists who endured their pain. Thanks to the courage taken by the priests of the Catholic Priests Association for Justice, the truth of Park Jong-chul's torture was known to the world, and the June Democracy Movement let the world know of the truth of state violence that took place here at Namyeongdong. Now this area is being redesigned as a commemoration site for democracy and human rights. It will become a space where the victims' wounds are healed and where the history of democracy will be remembered. It is very meaningful that we are holding the ceremony here today. The very unfortunate place here is being redesigned as a space of democracy, which indeed seems like a great miracle to us. Overcoming such difficulties and challenges, we have made the dark space into a new place of hope and one for the future. I'm very proud of our people and activists who fought for democracy. Fellow Koreans, along the way of achieving today's democracy, there were numerous devotions and sacrifices. Today, we are awarding the National State medals for those who have contributed to the democracy here in the country. Every one of them are very special and significant. They have been designated through wide recommendation from the civil society and related institutions. It is an unprecedented part of our history. Engraving martyr Chun Tae-il in her heart, there was the late Lee So-sun, who fought for the rights of laborers for her entire life. The late Park Kyung-gyu, who was a pastor and devoted his life for anti-dictatorship and democracy movement. The late Cho Young-rae, who was a symbol of a human rights attorney. The late Ji Hak-sun, who was the conscience of the era. The late Cho Bio, who was the priest and a symbol of May 18th movement. The late Park Jung-gi, father of Park Jong-chul, who also served as the president of the Association of the Bereaved Families of the Democracy Movement for long. The late Sung Yu-bo, journalist who fought for democracy for the press. The late Kim Jin-gyun, professor who pondered upon the era. The late Kim Chan-guk, the dean of Sangji University, who fought against the dictatorship. The late Kwon Jong-dae, the head of the National Farmer Association, who was always together with the farmers, and the late Hwang In-cheol, attorney and who is the father of attorney for democracy and human rights, and Ms. Bae Eun-sim, the mother of Lee Han-yeol, who is still with us at the site of democracy, and priest James Sinot and Pastor George Ogle, who sent us a helping hand from above. And their names themselves were the democracy of the Republic of Korea. They were indeed the boundaries for the public during the brutal ruling of the dictatorship. I'm very honored to have been on the streets together with all of them.
드리는 것이지만
Today's medal is awarded by the public, by the government. Indeed, however, they symbolize the appreciation of the public for the proud history of a democracy. I also send my words of comfort and appreciation to the members of the bereaved family who have spent long years of endurance. My administration will continue to respect the persons of national merit who contributed to independence, safeguarding the nation and fighting for democracy going forward. We will exert full efforts so that we can become role models for our future generations to come. My administration will also be devoted to commemorating the history of democracy. From 2018, we have designated the February 28th Daegu Democracy Movement and March 8th Daejeon Democracy Movement as national holidays to remember them in line with the March 15th Masan Movement and April 19th Revolution. We will return the dignity of the April 3rd incident and disclose the truth of the May 18th Democracy Movement. Fellow Koreans, let us once again think about the value of democracy. When it is established as a system which enables us to elect with our own hands the president, lawmakers, and the heads of institutions in the country, likewise we exercise our rights as a citizen. But we need to always look back on our democracy in our daily lives. People are the owner of the Republic of Korea. They have the sovereignty. The nation exists for their lives and always needs to live up to their expectations. This is something that the elected leaders need to always remember by heart. Democracy flies with two wings, liberty and equality. Even if they are a minority, they need to be respected. Democracy can only be put into place effectively when we look back upon places that have been isolated. We have the freedom to pursue our interests, but we do not have the freedom to take away the freedom of others. We know very well the ordinary truth that when we live well together with our neighbors, my own business will also prosper. A sustainable and equitable economy is a practical democracy that we need to accomplish, moving beyond the democracy as a simple system itself. When we feel democracy is something that we need to take for granted, this is a time we need to question ourselves more about the very idea. Democracy should exist in parts of our life, moving beyond it and being perceived as a simple system. Democracy at households and offices is indeed a very mature one. When we experience and repeat democracy in our daily lives, the spirit will be able to march forward. We shall not be in a rush. Conflict and agreements are other names of democracy. Everyone is different. They have different ideals and reality. People have different choices for the present and even for the future. Amid such conflict and tension, we need to seek ways of harmony and seek comfort amid discomfort. This indeed is the value of democracy. Peace is indeed a difficult and challenging path, but we need to accomplish peace through democracy. This can only bring about long-lasting prosperity for us all. Fellow Koreans, the world has its eyes on our democracy. Amid challenging times of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have materialized democracy as we think about others. And we are the only country that has successfully carried out an election, which is the essence of democracy. June Democracy Movement did not happen just like a miracle. It is a history of victory that entails a long desire of our people who longed to return our public sovereignty that started all the way from the March 1st movement, leading to the history of the Democratic Republic. In 16 years, we elected our own president. We restored the basic democratic system of the separation of three branches of power in our constitution. But the biggest accomplishment of our republic is the very fact that we have a group memory of making our history able to move forward. Therefore, our democracy can never take steps back. Now we need to go towards wider, bigger, and more diverse democracy. Our path towards democracy can never be halted. This is
끊임없이
because it
발전해 가기
always
때문에
developed ceaselessly.
지난날과 같이
As we
우리는
did in the
잘 해낼 수
past,
있습니다.
we can bring about great
60민주 항쟁
results.
33도를
Marking the
맞아
33rd anniversary
정부도
of the June
일상의
democracy movement,
민주주의를
my
위해
administration will
더욱
also exert
노력하겠습니다.
our efforts to achieve
민주주의라는
democracy
이름의
in
나무가
routine
광장에서
lives.
더
We
푸르러지도록
ask for the public's
국민들께서도
participation for
함께해
our
주시기
tree
바랍니다.
of democracy to be
감사합니다.
greener here in the plaza. Thank you very much.
우리는 광장에서 함성이기도 하고
At the plaza, we
촛불이기도
wore
하고
chants,
노란 리본이기도
candles,
했습니다.
and once yellow
그렇게
ribbons.
꽃이 피었습니다.
Like this, flowers
사람의
blossomed.
꽃이 피었습니다.
The flowers of people
대한민국
blossomed.
곳곳에서
In all
수많은
corners of the
사람의
country,
꽃이 피었습니다.
the flowers of
민주주의를
many
향한
people have
염원과
blossomed.
서로에 대한
And
믿음은
likewise, our desire for
우리의
democracy and mutual
깃발이
trust have become our
국민이
beacons of
승리하는
hope.
역사는
The history where the public claims
펼쳐질
victory will
것입니다.
definitely unfold
그
before
속에서
us.
품격을
We
잃지
will
않을
march
것입니다.
forward with unexpected
우리가
speed and never lose our
민주주의입니다.
dignity.
네, 다음으로 기념 공연이
And next
있겠습니다.
we have a commemorative
광장에서 피어난
performance.
꿈이 꽃이
We
되고
have a
사람이
song
되고
of a dream on the
또
plaza
민주주의를
blooming into
완성해가는
flower,
그날을
becoming
노래합니다.
humans and completing democracy.
강은일님
The
해금
performance
연주에
titled When the Day
윤선혜님이
Comes
그날이
features
오명과
Kang Eun-il's
정태춘님의
Haegeum performance and
92년
singing by
장마
Yoon
종로에서를
Sun-ae. It will be
전해드립니다.
followed by
바로
In
이어서
Chongno during the
광야에서를
monsoon of
참석자 여러분들과 함께
1992 by Chung
합창하겠습니다.
Tae-chun. We will also sing the song
안혜연님,
in unison
국립합창단,
together
5월
with
뮤지컬
the
비망이
Song So-hee as well as
그럼
the
지금부터
choir. And
기념
now,
공연을
please
시작하겠습니다.
enjoy the performance.
밤의 꿈은 아니리 오랜 고통 단후에 내 형제 빛나는 두 눈에 뜨거운 눈물들 한 줄기 강물로 흘러 고된 땀방울 함께 흘러 드넓은 평화의 바다에 정의의 물결 넘치는 꿈
there you have it. We heard from President Moon marking the 33rd anniversary of the June pro-democratic movement happening at the former anti-communist interrogation office in capital of Seoul. And as for some of the remarks that President said, he said that his administration will move to institute the democracy in our daily lives as the nation's greatest achievement comes with the people of South Korea that carried the history to move forward. And he also called on the mature democracy to be embedded in our households and our workplaces and value the sense of democracy in our daily lives. And one interesting point, President also said the road to peace may be difficult and challenging, but that peace must be achieved through democracy, as that peace achieved through the work of democracy will only bring us to prosperity for a long time. And that's interesting because as the president's remarks comes on the day of marking the commemorative event of the June pro-democracy movement, it also comes at a time when the nation saw all the communication lines between the two Koreas being completely severed as of Tuesday noon Korea time, with many drawing closer to President Moon's remarks also on that incident. But with that, we will be wrapping up for this edition of Arirang News, and more news lineup will be coming up in our later newscast slotted for noon Korea time, so stay close. And we'll be back with more of the day's headlines, including today's event. Thanks for watching.